I was in final year of high school when I was asked to be the third member of the Marathon of Hope, and I saw it as a get out of school card. So I was quite excited by the opportunity. Who wouldn't? So I graduated, I wrote my finals within a week, and within a week I was on my first flight to St. John, New Brunswick.
Well, I, like most people, heard about what he was doing, and it was a dream way beyond what anybody could think about. The idea of running across Canada on one leg, a skip and a hop. So it twigged my interest, and I had, as I mentioned in the auditorium, I had a young lady in our marketing department fly out to track him, to see what was happening. How does this working out? And her reporting back really was very sad, because people thought it was a gimmick. I mean, the idea was so beyond belief, and they were mocking him along the road. So I decided we would try to do something to help him.
Terry ran over 3,000 miles preparing for the Marathon of Hope, and I was there for many of them. But to see him that day was different, because you could tell he was now fulfilling this dream that he had prepared many months, including a couple of years, to fulfill. Terry planned meticulously for the Marathon of Hope. He had a fundraising event prior to raise money. He had approached Adidas for shoes, Ford for a van, but he had a map. He knew how far he was going to run every day. What he didn't prepare for was living in a van with his best friend for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if someone else didn't join the Marathon of Hope, there would have been a murder. So that was one of the reasons why I was asked to be the third member. One thing that is unique about Doug is he's very similar to Terry in being very stubborn and determined. And I knew that he was going to be there through thick and thin. So from my experiences being part of the Marathon of Hope, it just worked. It worked really, really well. At the age of 17, I had a sense of humor. I've lost it since, but at that point, I was able to make Terry laugh. And even though the days were long and exceptionally stressful, as they would be, not only was Terry running 42K a day, he was also having to make phone calls from phone booths back to Ontario or BC for interviews, for media requests. So he was doing all that. He was also speaking 2 or 3 times a day. So it was exhausting. So any opportunity to lighten the moment was my opportunity. But you had to pick your moments.
We decided we would contribute $10,000 to his effort and invited 999 other companies to join with Four Seasons and make it a $10 million run. Well, Terry heard about it, and he called me on a paid telephone somewhere. It's way before the cell phones. And in a breaking voice said, look, that's all he needed. If somebody cares enough, he'll keep going.
Chores, Marathon of Hope chores. Clothes had to be washed. Terry ran 1 mile at a time. He would take a break every second break, a short break, where he would have an orange or a glass of water. So I fulfilled that as well. I also had to play pinball. That was important too. I'm just kidding. Make sure there was meals prepared. When Terry, the reality is Terry was only one person. And as momentum built for the Marathon of Hope, there were more requests for his time. He couldn't be everywhere. So that's when Doug and I would fulfill the role of representing Terry at any event and sharing a few words about why he was running. I was not Terry, but I hoped I was able to share his message for why he was running across the country, and that's what we would do from time to time as well. I also was responsible for fundraising, collecting donations, especially here in Ontario. Every day when we were running, we had to receive Ontario's generosity. People were so moved by what they were witnessing, they wanted to give. And I actually think I ran further than Terry because he ran a straight line, whereas I zigzagged collecting donations. It was unbelievable how much money was raised on the road during the Marathon of Hope, and that was a major responsibility of mine. Yeah, when Terry was diagnosed, it was unusual to see someone, an amputee. You didn't see them, someone with a disability, as often as you do now. So I think, and Terry had to evolve there too. When he started to run, the first few months that he ran, he did not run on the road. He found a track and he ran laps of that track, so where he wasn't as visible. He also wore track pants early on too. He wouldn't reveal his artificial leg, but he saw the opportunity that his run offered to be able to share disability. And you know, it's interesting for those of us who were around Terry, I never ever saw him as a disabled person. Like, he was more able than I ever was, you know, in light of what he was accomplishing. So he saw that and he recognized he had the ability to offer something more. Now, his focus was always fundraising for cancer research, but he also wanted to show what could be done on an artificial leg, and I think he did that.
He didn't want anybody to continue his run. He wanted that to be what he did and didn't want anybody to imitate what he set out to do. So the idea was, how do you raise money? And the idea was to use his name, which at that point, remember, everybody across Canada heard about it, admired what he did, and he, overnight, when things happened, he became a national hero. He said, look, I know what you're talking about, but what if we have a family event? What if we just have a run that people come out with a family and it'll just be a run to raise money to continue for cancer research? And he was adamant that the money had to go to cancer research. He wasn't interested in building buildings or doing other things. And we made that commitment, that everything would be raised, would go to cancer research. And that's the way it started.
Well, I'm benefiting from that right now, actually, because I'm, you know, Kuala Lumpur, where did I stay? At a Four Seasons. I was in Singapore in July. Where did I stay? At a Four Seasons. So I'm very thankful for Mr. Sharp. But more than that, it does allow us to share the story internationally. And you know, actually in Malaysia, it's actually the Malaysian Cancer Society that is organizing the run. So it's not a Canadian identity at all that is responsible for that. And the reason being is, one, cancer is everywhere, but this is a story that can translate into any language, you know, and they respond to the story of Terry Fox. And that's how we introduce the story of an average person who made an incredible difference. There's a lot of average people in the world, so who can set their goals really high and accomplish incredible things through hard work and determination. Mr. Sharp also offered something more, and that was, as I tried to share with my words, is mentorship and leadership. Because we were quite a startup in 1980, and we needed leadership and mentorship, and Mr. Sharp certainly offered that at that time, and still does. So, you know, it's a relationship and a friendship that is very, very important to the Fox family and the Fox Foundation. I think our key to the fact that the story still resonates is because we lead with Terry. We lead with the story, and it will always, again, I'm biased, it will always resonate. It'll always be powerful. We don't have to embellish, we don't have to exaggerate. The story, the details of the story are incredible. And, you know, I have, over the years, I've sometimes gone back based on where I live in BC. I might go to the same school. Every 5 years, I'll go to the same school. I'll share the same story, and I'll get the same reaction to the story. That's because it's so powerful.
I met him when he was in Toronto. And when I suggested to him then, this is bigger than you ever thought. And when you get to Vancouver, this is going to be a worldwide event. And he very quietly dismissed what I was saying and said, I don't want to think about that now. I thought then he knew he wasn't going to make it. He was running under great pain, but he was determined to run until he couldn't.
I'm a sponge for all things Terry. Like I never get enough. I wake up every morning and I pinch myself that I have this incredible opportunity to know that I'm going to experience something today, which I did today here at this school, and a memory about Terry, which I'll have with me for years. And that's a huge gift and an opportunity. So that's a big part of it, because of what I witnessed in 1980. Like what I have seen, no words to describe what I witnessed in 1980. I witnessed a miracle. I witnessed what Terry accomplished physically and mentally, and then I witnessed a nation embrace my brother at the same time. And I don't live in the past, but I go back there every day, and I like to hang out there. But I'm still living the present as well, and the present is fulfilling Terry's dream. That's what drives me. Yeah, as I've said many times, I can't change history. I can't change how cancer has personally touched my life, but I know we have saved lives, and that's pretty cool. That's really, really exciting to know, because of the investment we have made for 43 years, we are saving lives. That's cool.